The film opens in the quiet years after the war, with Oppenheimer living among echoes of his own name. Fame follows him like a shadow, but sleep does not. He watches the world celebrate a victory that feels unfinished inside him. Letters arrive daily, praising him as a savior or cursing him as a destroyer. At home, silence grows heavier than applause. He begins to sense that his greatest battle has not yet begun. Oppenheimer is invited to closed-door meetings where the future of nuclear weapons is discussed in cold, technical language. Younger scientists look at him with reverence, others with suspicion. He feels older than his years, burdened by knowledge no one can unlearn. Each equation reminds him of faces he never saw but knows existed. The bomb is no longer an event. It is a system now. He wonders if wisdom ever truly follows power. His relationship with Kitty strains under the weight of public scrutiny and private guilt. She sees a man slowly retreating into himself, present but distant. Conversations turn into arguments, then into long pauses filled with unspoken fear. Love remains, but it is bruised and tired. Kitty urges him to speak louder, to fight for what he believes. Oppenheimer fears that speaking may only make things worse. The Cold War tightens its grip, and paranoia enters every institution. Oppenheimer's past affiliations are quietly reopened and examined. Old friendships are suddenly treated like crimes. He feels the room change whenever he enters, smiles becoming careful and measured. Trust evaporates faster than reason. The scientist who once led men now stands increasingly alone. A new generation of weapons is proposed, stronger and more terrifying than before. Oppenheimer openly questions their necessity, shocking those who once praised his brilliance. His objections are framed as weakness, even betrayal. He struggles between loyalty to his country and loyalty to humanity. Each meeting leaves him more isolated. Still, he refuses to be silent. Flashbacks interrupt his present, returning him to Los Alamos in fragments rather than memories. Faces of young scientists blend with images of blinding light. The applause after Hiroshima echoes in his mind like a curse. He remembers believing that success would bring closure. Instead, it opened a door that cannot be shut. The past refuses to stay buried. Political forces begin shaping a case against him, carefully and quietly. His security clearance becomes a weapon used to diminish his voice. Friends advise him to compromise, to step back and protect what remains. Oppenheimer considers it, exhausted by years of resistance. Yet something inside him resists surrender. He knows retreat would erase the truth he carries. The hearings begin, not as a trial but as a slow dismantling. Every word he ever spoke is dissected and reframed. His brilliance is acknowledged even as his character is questioned. He answers calmly, though his hands tremble beneath the table. The room feels less like justice and more like theater. He realizes the outcome may already be decided. Kitty stands by him in public, fierce and unyielding. In private, she breaks down, angry at a system that consumes its own heroes. Their bond deepens through shared pain and mutual defiance. Oppenheimer draws strength from her refusal to bow. Love becomes his last refuge. Together, they endure the slow humiliation. As the verdict approaches, Oppenheimer reflects on responsibility beyond nations and flags. He writes notes that are never sent, thoughts meant for a future he may never see. He wonders if warning the world was always his true role. The idea brings him a strange calm. Even failure feels meaningful if it leaves a mark. The decision strips him of influence but not of conscience. Public opinion divides sharply, turning him into a symbol rather than a man. Some see a fallen genius, others a moral compass. Oppenheimer watches from a distance, no longer invited to shape policy. Freedom feels hollow without purpose. Yet his mind remains restless. He returns to teaching and quiet research, seeking simplicity where he can find it. Students listen closely, unaware of the weight behind his words. He teaches physics but speaks often of limits and consequences. Knowledge, he tells them, must walk with humility. These moments offer him brief peace. Global tensions escalate, bringing the threat of nuclear annihilation closer to reality. News reports feel personal, almost accusatory. Oppenheimer fears that his warnings came too late. He questions whether one voice can ever slow history. Regret surfaces, but so does resolve. His essays begin circulating quietly, then widely, stirring debate. Younger activists and scientists reach out, inspired by his honesty rather than his power. Oppenheimer finds himself guiding from the margins. He is no longer powerful, but he is heard. Influence without authority brings unexpected relief. Health issues emerge, reminding him of time's limits. His body weakens even as his mind sharpens. Conversations turn reflective, filled with unfinished thoughts and hard-earned honesty. He speaks openly about fear, pride, and mistakes. Those closest to him listen carefully. A private meeting with an old colleague forces him to confront unresolved anger. They argue, then slowly reconcile, admitting they were changed by what they created. Forgiveness does not erase responsibility, but it softens its edges. The moment feels necessary, if long overdue. Oppenheimer leaves lighter than before. The world begins discussing arms control more seriously, echoing ideas he once championed. Though his name is rarely mentioned, he recognizes his influence. Progress is slow and fragile, but real. He allows himself cautious hope. Maybe damage can be limited, if not undone. In quiet moments, Oppenheimer reflects on legacy and contradiction. He understands that history will never judge him simply. He was both creator and critic, hero and warning. Accepting this complexity brings peace. Life, like science, resists clean answers. Near the end, he visits a remote place, watching the sky change colors at dusk. The silence feels earned rather than empty. He thinks of the future, of people he will never meet. His regret remains, but it no longer consumes him. He has spoken, resisted, and endured. In his final years, Oppenheimer begins organizing his papers, deciding what should survive him. Each document feels like a confession or a warning. He debates whether the world truly listens or only reacts. Still, he chooses honesty over comfort. Truth, he believes, must outlive the man. A conversation with a young physicist lingers deeply in his mind. The student asks whether discovery is worth its cost. Oppenheimer pauses longer than expected before answering. He admits there are questions without clean solutions. Responsibility, he says, begins after discovery, not before. Kitty watches him grow quieter, yet somehow more present. Their evenings are calm, filled with shared memories rather than arguments. They speak less of politics and more of life as it was before history intervened. Love settles into something steady and forgiving. It is not perfect, but it is real. As the world inches closer to both catastrophe and cooperation, Oppenheimer accepts that he cannot control the outcome. He has given warnings, offered guidance, and paid the price for dissent. The rest belongs to humanity. Letting go becomes his final act of courage. The film closes with Oppenheimer at rest, not triumphant but honest. His story becomes a reminder rather than a conclusion. Humanity stands at a crossroads he helped reveal. The question of responsibility lingers beyond the screen. Progress continues, fragile and dangerous, shaped by the choices others make next.